Back to our top story now. Australians will soon be able to access 2 months' worth of medicine instead of one with the use of one script. Joining us live from Canberra, the president of the Pharmacy Guild, Trent Twomey. Trent, good to see you. So just back to that headline point there, 2 months' worth of medicine, that's instead of one, that's with the use of one script. What's the Pharmacy Guild's response to that?
Well, sounds good, doesn't it? But the problem is there are 472 medicines listed on the Therapeutic Goods Administration's website that are just completely unavailable, Pete. So how do we give somebody 60 days instead of 30 when we can't get 30 in stock now? So it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors. We feel like it's a bit of a kick in the guts. We got a bit of a heads up they were thinking of doing this. So all of the pharmacists have been reaching out to their local MP saying, can you just pop down to my pharmacy, come into the dispensary, have a look at the list of out of stocks when I place my orders and I'm getting nothing. So how do we give people extra when we can't even give people the minimum amount that they need? So we're just scratching our heads this morning, Pete. We don't know how it's going to work. So
is that the only problem that you've got? It's a supply issue for you?
Well, it's a supply issue, but the other thing is we've been calling for a year now to lower the co-payment on prescriptions. So for all patients that rock up to all pharmacies, you've got to pay a co-payment, right? And we've been asking for that to be lowered because we know people are struggling week to week, paycheck to paycheck, and that would have helped all Aussies. What this initiative does is it only benefits 1 in 5. And not only does it only benefit 1 in 5, but what the government's saying to the local community pharmacist is you pay for it, you take the cuts. And this is going to cut $170,000 out of every local community pharmacy in Australia, which means they're not going to be open weekends, they're not going to be open at night. So, it sounds great in theory, Pete, but the system is struggling to meet the needs and demands of giving everyone just what they need. Double nothing is still nothing. And if this is the cornerstone of their cost of living relief for the health sector, then, I'm going to scratch my head and find out what else they're going to do, to help Aussies week to week.
Do you agree with the criticisms that some have that it will lead to hoarding?
It's definitely going to lead to hoarding. I mean, let's just see that this is the same government that said only a few weeks ago that Panadol is dangerous and we need to reduce the maximum amount of Panadol you can get from 24 tablets at Coles and Woolies down to 16 tablets because it's dangerous. But you know what? If your daughter's on an antidepressant, she can have 2 boxes and we'll let her keep that in the bedroom. I mean, how is Panadol more dangerous, right, than your antidepressant? So I just think in that big ivory tower over in Woden, one floor needs to talk to another floor. I don't actually know if they know what they're doing. And I just applaud Albo to stop, mate, come out, visit a local community pharmacy. You don't have to come and talk to me if you don't want to, but go into Balmain and go and ask any of the pharmacists in your electorate because they all feel like you're ignoring them. They all feel like you don't understand the pressure that they're under every day. And they feel like they've been a bit betrayed this morning by a government that said they're here to strengthen the health system, and here they are weakening it.
Well, I mean, it doesn't relate to all medicines. Plus, there is the option for a doctor to prescribe 1 month. That still remains. So are you being overly alarmist here?
Well, we don't have any of the details. It's a fair question, Pete. But when they announce something like this today, with no consultation, with no safety mechanisms, with no systems in place to ensure that we can still give people 1 box, and I'm not going to have a patient walk in and say, oh, here's my prescription, Trent, for my antidepressant. I'd say, oh, you're 5 minutes late. I just gave 2 boxes to the bloke that was in here 5 minutes before you. We've had no detail. We don't know how it's going to work. And it has been put in place in other countries, Pete, but it's seen 1,100 pharmacies close in the United Kingdom. It's seen 70 pharmacies close in New Zealand. So what's the magic number, Albo? How many are you happy to have close here in Australia?
Right, so that's what you're warning, there will be closures. I mean, I was under the impression that profits were pretty good at pharmacies at the moment. Is that not true?
Well, I don't know which ones you're looking at. Not that crash hot in mine in far north Queensland. I don't know where that stat comes from, Pete.
Okay. Is it not in your interest, though, to keep people coming back to pharmacies and spending more money? At the end of the day, they are businesses.
Oh, well, it's like small general practices, you know, and at the moment, you know, we've got 332 towns in Australia where there is a pharmacy, where Aussies can go in and ask their pharmacist, because the general practices, after decades of cut, have shut, and now they're trying to rebuild it. So, you know, buyer beware. Albo said to us just before Christmas, thank you for doing the COVID vaccines. Thank you for doing everything you're doing. And once you're gone, we don't know how to rebuild you. We've learnt the mistakes for what we've done with general practice, but I don't think they have, mate.
Right.
He says it, but I don't think he has.
So I mean, your main criticism being, look, on the face of it, sure, if you can get 2 months' worth, fine for an individual, but practically, from a business sense, it's not doable.
We've got two things, just to summarise and put it succinctly. We can't give you, the first one is we can't give you 2 of something we don't have enough to give you 1. That's just simple mathematics, and you can Google the shortage list. It's on the TGA's website. This is not pharmacists saying,
and that's across a range of medicines, like you pointed out.
Mate, that's antidepressants, that's cholesterol, that's high blood pressure, that's Parkinson's, that's stuff for your asthma, that's across the board.
Okay.
And the second thing is, if you want to make stuff cheaper, why don't you lower the co-payment and give someone relief, everybody relief? Why are you doing 2 for 1 that only benefits 1 in 5 people and cuts the local community pharmacy? So they're the 2 simple points today.
Trent Twomey, appreciate your time. Talk to you soon.